My name is Zach Wood, and I'm a Public Information Officer here at the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today's media briefing will be focused on ways to reduce holiday waste. Joining us this morning, we have Jennifer Semrau, DNR Waste Reduction and Diversion Coordinator, and Eric Flesch, DNR Organics Waste Management Specialist. And with that, I will turn things over to Jennifer.
We know recycling can be confusing. Here are a few tips to help with your holiday cleanup. First, let's discuss items that can go in every recycling bin in Wisconsin. From La Crosse to Milwaukee to the North Woods, you can recycle containers made of steel, aluminum, glass, plastics numbers 1 and 2, as well as cardboard, newspaper, magazines, office paper, and other papers. Your local program may be set up to accept additional items such as milk or juice cartons, yogurt containers, or aluminum foil, but you do need to check locally. Remember, a recycling symbol on a piece of packaging does not necessarily mean your local program is set up to accept it. Because of this, what you can recycle at home may be different than what you can recycle at your holiday destination if you're traveling. So a tip, check with your host, but if in doubt, throw it out. Now that you know what can go in the recycling bin, it's equally important to know how to prepare these items. Equipment used at recycling processing facilities sort recyclables based on shape and size. Therefore, how you place recyclables in the bin really matters. Cardboard boxes. You'll want to flatten cardboard boxes, remove air pillows, packing paper, or styrofoam, and break down the box. Plain packing paper can be recycled, however, styrofoam belongs in the trash. Air pillows and bubble wrap can be recycled as well if the air is mostly removed by dropping them off at a retail location that accepts plastic bags for recycling. Remember, plastic bags, wrap, and film never belong in your curbside recycling cart. Another tip, if the box is big, break it down to no larger than 3 feet by 3 feet so it can fit on the conveyor belts at the recycling facility. Rinse cans and bottles, but resist the urge to crush them. They'll end up flattened and can be sorted with flattened paper and cardboard, and paper mills would rather not get your cans and bottles. Now let's talk about specific types of holiday waste and what should or should not be placed in your recycling bin. First, wrapping paper. Some programs do accept wrapping paper for recycling, but not others, so you do need to check locally. If it is accepted, it needs to be tearable, plain paper with no glitter, foil, or ribbons, so this shiny glitter paper would not be acceptable. However, a common reason that programs will say no wrapping paper at all is because people tend to include all of the bows and ribbons with their wrapping paper when they're disposing of it, or they take their paper and crunkle it up. As I mentioned before, if paper is flat, it is more likely to be sorted properly at the recycling facility. Now turning to gift bags. Best option, save these gift bags and reuse them for next year. But if that is not an option, if they are a plain paper bag, they can be recycled. You'll want to remove the strings and any tissue paper. Tissue paper, like other types of tissues and paper toweling, is not recyclable and should go in with your regular trash. Next, turning to holiday cards. Plain paper cards and envelopes can be recycled, but again, watch out for any glitter, sequins, or non-paper material like batteries or photo cards, which should be discarded. Your string of holiday lights may have burned out, but they should not be placed in your recycling bin. Holiday lights are called tanglers, meaning they can wrap around recycling equipment. Another very common tangler, plastic bags and film. Just like holiday lights, they can wrap around equipment, causing operations to come to a grinding halt so workers can remove these tanglers. During the holidays, many communities, retailers, and scrapyards collect holiday lights for recycling. Clean plastic bags and film can be recycled by dropping them off at grocery stores and retailers, which accept plastic bags for recycling all year round. Finally, help keep workers and facilities safe by taking batteries and electronics such as tablets, laptops, computers, and cell phones to a recycling drop-off site or collection event. They should never go in curbside recycling bins. Facilities that manage cans and bottles and paper, as well as household garbage, are not set up to handle batteries and electronics. Several very damaging fires, likely caused by batteries, have occurred in collection trucks and facilities around Wisconsin. Operators report that smaller fires are often a weekly occurrence. If you have unwanted electronics and batteries, take them to a recycling drop-off site located around the state. The DNR has a list of electronics drop-off sites and mailback programs on our website. Visit dnr.wi.gov and search eCycle. We also link to lists of battery drop-off locations. For more holiday recycling tips, go to dnr.wi.gov and search for recycling for all seasons. Now I'll turn it over to Eric for tips on reducing food waste around the holidays.
At the holidays, while we celebrate the season with an abundance of the people and the things we hold dear, it's important to think about food, not just how much we have, but also how much we waste. Did you know that household food waste and scraps make up the largest part of all trash in Wisconsin landfills? Almost 300 pounds of food per person. When food goes in the trash, so do all the resources, time, and money used to produce, store, and distribute the food. Plus, when this wasted food decomposes in landfills, it releases the potent greenhouse gas methane, as much as would be emitted powering a big town or a small city for a whole year. So, if we want to reduce hunger, save money, and improve Wisconsin's environment, join a statewide initiative to cut our landfill food waste in half. Here are some tips we can use to be more conscious of the foods we purchase, the way we store food, and the way we dispose of food. If you're like me and sometimes tend to go overboard with the cooking for dinner parties at the holidays, a little planning can go a long way. First of all, start with a head count and use a free online dinner party calculator that estimates how much food you need to keep your guests full and happy. One really fun calculator that helps create a shopping list is called the Guestimator on SaveTheFood.com. Make note in advance of any guests who have dietary restrictions or are picky eaters so that you can plan one single menu to accommodate everyone. Also, check out the food you already have in the pantry, and even ingredients that are browning, stale, or on the brink that are just a little past their prime, and consider upcycling them, just like restaurant chefs do, by using a recipe generator such as Cook It on SaveTheFood.com. Are you wondering what to do with expired foods that are past the manufacturer's sell-by or use-by dates? Please know that those dates, with the single exception of infant formula, are not regulated by federal law and may indicate peak quality, but not food safety. The U.S. Department of Agriculture actually advises consumers to use their eyes and nose to evaluate expired foods and only to toss it if the smell, color, consistency, or texture has changed. This means that properly stored holiday items from last year, like ground nutmeg or dried wild rice or cornmeal, are likely still too good to go to waste. And let's face it, no matter how much we plan, we are bound to have leftovers. It's easier than ever to find recipes online to creatively repurpose leftovers, but it's also helpful to consider that it's totally appropriate to spread the leftover love by giving the gift of food. Plan ahead to have containers on hand to send guests home with meals for later. Whether your zip top bag or your favorite airtight container, pop your holidays leftovers and surplus ingredients in the freezer sooner than later before it's too late. You may want to get yourself a roll of this if you are not already familiar with it. Freezer paper. It's a thick, durable paper with a plastic coating on one side used to prevent freezer burn. And wax paper or parchment paper is not a good substitute. According to SaveTheFood.com, the best practice to maintain freshness and avoid freezer burn is to wrap food first in freezer paper and then to pop it in an airtight container or a zip-top freezer bag with the air removed. Add an additional layer of heavy-duty foil before putting it in the container if you're wrapping meat for long-term storage. When there's nothing left but scraps, what's the best thing to do with the kitchen waste? Well, consider composting it instead of putting it in the garbage. Composting is a form of recycling because it creates a beneficial soil building product for the garden. Plus, it avoids generating the abundance of methane gas that the food would have generated in a landfill without the microbes and the oxygen to break it down. If backyard composting is not possible, many communities have a compost site where you can drop off, and there are now even several services in Wisconsin that pick up compostable food waste. So check with your community to find out what's available in your area. Or visit dnr.wi.gov and search for composting in Wisconsin or reducing food waste for a bounty of food waste prevention and recycling resources.
Thank you, Eric. We do have a few minutes for some Q&A, so please go ahead and use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, and we will go through and call on you to unmute your microphone. Should any questions come up later, or you're watching this briefing after the fact as a recording, you can feel free to send us an email at dnrpress@wisconsin.gov. That's dnrpress@wisconsin.gov. And we will help you get your questions answered as quickly as possible. We have a question from Katie Thorson.
Hi, thank you. This one's for Jennifer. Could you just explain what happens when items that shouldn't be recycled end up in the recycling bin?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So recycling processing facilities use different mechanisms to sort the different recyclables. So some of them are mechanical and some of them are human. So there are in nearly every recycling facility actually people on the sort lines who will be reviewing what you've put in the bin and removing items that don't belong. So right at the beginning of the recycling facility is a pre-sort station where they are looking for larger non-acceptable items. And then throughout the facility as well, there's different quality checks and quality sorters who will remove items that shouldn't be in the recycling when they uncover them.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any further questions? Not seeing any, so it looks like we can wrap this up. Again, if you have any additional questions later in the day, feel free to email us at dnrpress@wisconsin.gov, and we will be happy to get those answered for you. Thank you all for tuning in this morning, and have a great day and happy holidays.